Welcome to another edition of the Sales and Marketing Power Hour with your host, Carol Morgan with Denim Marketing and Kimberly Mackey with New Home Solutions Consulting.
Alrighty. Well, the messages just keep coming in. I'm going to go ahead and kick things off. So for those of you who it's not your first time joining us, I always like to start us off with a nice quote. And today I figured what better thing to do than to ask GPT to give us a quote. And this is an original quote given to me by GPT this morning. So he says, he, she, whatever it is, it says, I guess, I don't know what are the pronouns for AI. We were going to figure that out.
There, it.
You should ask.
Yes,
it.
exactly.
Yeah, you should ask it.
We should ask it what its pronouns are. Yes. So AI for sales and marketing and home building is like a visionary conductor orchestrating a harmonious blend of personalized experiences, streamlined processes, and boundless innovation to compose the symphony of our future homes. John, you could have
music
written
to
that.
my ears. I couldn't have said it more poetically.
That's such a John Lee kind of thing. Maybe it got inspired by you.
I'm inspired by ChatGPT, so
You're right.
can't wait to talk about it.
So
okay, you're a master of prompt engineering already, I think.
It's called punishment.
He's quite the wordsmith. All right, Carol, go ahead and kick us off. This is the commercial part of the program, and then no commercials for the rest of the program. So
we'll make this short. So stay tuned. So I'm Carol Morgan, founder and president of Denim Marketing. I hail from Atlanta, Georgia, where it's sunny and going to be 84 later today. We specialize on content for home builders, developers, remodelers, active adult communities, and pretty much anyone who serves the industry. If you're an associate, we probably work for some of you too. But everything from media relations. So yes, we write traditional press releases and send them to the media and still score placements for those, to blogs and social media, drip campaigns for emails and promotions. So if you need help with your content, either because you don't have enough time to write your content, or if you struggle to write content and just want some help and some creative thought behind it, give us a shout.
Wonderful. So, and I'm Kimberly Mackey. My company is New Home Solutions Consulting. And I like to say that my company is the engine that drives the train, drives the sales, which should be your train. So rather than running it off the track, and I totally butchered that, but that's okay. What that really means is I'm the person who comes in and helps you. I roll up my sleeves behind the scenes. So I don't just do sales training, although I do sales training. I actually help you to integrate all the parts and the pieces with your company, all the processes and your systems to make sure that it's all moving in the right direction. So the challenge is we want sales, we want predictable sales, and we want them to be profitable. But you have to be able to really analyze what's happening in the market, your analytics, track the right things to be able to predict that. And unless Will's company puts me out of business, that's what I'm here to do, and help interpret that data for you and help you to figure out how to manage your business and predict what it's going to do moving forward and get everybody on the same page. That part I feel confident that you're still going to need a human being for. So I think I'm safe, Will.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're going to be a lot more busier.
Yeah, exactly. Especially as we start figuring out that all these numbers really mean something, right? So I'm going to throw to Bassam, and Bassam gets the award for the most creative headshot, and the most creative background. So take it away, Bassam.
Thank you, Kimberly. And I figured that it was only apropos to use generative AI to generate my headshot. So that is not me, although it's equally odd looking. I'm based in Park City, Utah. I'm a founder of Atlas RTX, and we have been in AI-powered digital assistants for quite some time, and particularly in home building. So I'm really delighted to be here.
You've been definitely on the cutting edge. So I'm honored to have known you for as long as I have. Brilliant, man.
Thank you.
Will.
Hi, everyone. My name is Will, and I'm from Calgary, Western Canada. So I'm a co-founder of Openhouse AI. We are a data science company for home builders. We use AI and data science to help home builders eliminate guesswork and make accurate predictions to support home builders to become data-driven and use data-driven decision-making. So that helped them to reduce the inefficiency and respond proactively to market shifts. So our understanding of home building is inherently cyclical, but the challenge is a lot of time. Where are we in the cycle? Where are we in the cycle, right? So that helped them make it difficult for them to make decision. So we're here to help them. But ultimately, AI is not going to be able to make judgment, and it's actually the important will still it's up to human judgment to make a real difference there.
Yeah, the key is going to be working with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and he probably needs no introduction to a large portion of our audience today, but John Lee, who's the CEO of Anewgo. John.
Yes, well, I've been in this industry since 2001. Many of you may have known me as the CEO of Rendering House, which we create visualization content, renderings, and virtual tours. But in 2020, we basically made a new go of it. So don't buy new homes the old way, make a new go of it. And with that, we became a software platform that really enables the buyers to be able to find, design, experience, and buy new homes online. And I'm really excited about AI because AI is a pivotal piece to helping the buyers do that with a virtual assistant throughout that whole cumbersome customer journey.
Fabulous. And last but certainly not least, and winner of the most chillax headshot for sure, Patrick, tell us about you and Maket.
As the millennial in the conversation, I had no choice. So thank you very much, Kimberly. I'm co-founder and CEO of Maket. Maket, we're based in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and we are a generative AI company that helps AEC professionals, home builders, architects, engineers, designers be able to automate early stage planning through our generative tools that we're building, primarily through our plan generator, virtual exterior and interior designer, and a virtual assistant that we have on our platform. So it's a pleasure to be with everybody.
So as you can see, we've assembled a top-notch panel for you guys today. So I hope you're going to be very active in the chat. Now is your chance to get all of this brain power in one place. Before I turn off the slides, I would be remiss if I didn't invite you to continue the conversation in our very interactive Facebook group. You can find us on facebook.com/groups, Sales Marketing Power Hour. And if you didn't, when you registered for this one, I hope you will join us in June. It'll be a surprise what our topic is, maybe even to Carol and me. But you can rest assured that it will be cutting edge because we're always trying to figure out what the next thing is for you. So I hope that you will join us. And with that, I'm going to turn off the share and let's get this party started.
Yeah, let's get this party started. I was going to say, and for June, if you all have topics you want us to cover, feel free to chime in on the chat for those too, because I don't think Kimberly and I've even talked about it yet. We've been so busy this year. But let's dive into AI and, what is AI as we see it today? How does it differ from the Matrix and other sci-fi versions? And I love this quote. I think somebody said this yesterday, kind of in our pre-call. It's not the Terminator, but it might be the determinator in who survives. So I'm just
I said that in a kind of joking way, but it's actually a little bit serious. A lot of people think AI is going to be very scary, and you're referring to the Matrix. I don't think it's going to be a weapon anytime soon, but it's going to be, hopefully a tool for you. But in the short term, I don't think it's going to terminate your lives or your jobs, but I think it will be a big determinant of your lives and your jobs. And I think it's a good time to get the party started and conversation going because there's a lot of parenting that's going to be involved in this whole process, and as well as the education. I always say, if you don't run toward technology, technology is going to run over you. So I think it's a good time to embrace it now because in our industry, there are a lot of jobs that AI could affect and maybe even supersede. We have the creative workers who are like the marketing people, the designers, architects, and all that. We have the knowledge workers, which are like, the real estate agents, the attorneys, the mortgage lenders, and a lot of professional type of jobs. And then we also have the construction and production jobs, from manufacturing offsite to, 3D printing. I think all that could be affected significantly by AI by adding that intelligence to their work process.
Anybody else?
I'm supposed to get you guys excited.
Yeah, who else wants to chime in?
I was like, I don't know how to top that. So, yeah.
John, those are fighting words. Those are fighting words.
Fighting words.
You
I lay
know,
down my arms.
Might I point out that programming is also impacted by
Yes,
AI.
exactly.
You know, I think the contention is average capability can be replaced by AI, but superlative capability is a bit harder to replace. But to the question, really, what is it? What is we're all using the acronym? What does it mean? I think simplistically, I think of it as automating what humans don't want to do or can't do very well. So automating things that typically we don't want to do. And I think that's the reminder for me. It's usually stuff that, hey, can I delegate that so I can spend my time doing things that I want to be doing or that require my value. And I think that's what's wonderful about it. To John's point, I don't think it's anything to be scared of. It will create incredible productivity over the coming decade. And we've been seeing that with technology in general in the last 20 years, but I really believe the next 10 will see more productivity gains than the prior 30 or 40.
I always get this questions like, back to the taking the jobs. They said, how about the robots taking our jobs? I always respond back, why are we doing robots' jobs? Yeah, I mean, it's here to help us.
Yeah. And Bassam, to your point, I think that what's going to be interesting as well is professionals becoming more and more generalists. So I think that if you've been focused in a sales role, I think that now generative tools are going to allow you to become a marketer if you want to, or go into more of an operational role. So it's going to really break down different barriers that we have, and you'll be able to just do a lot more with a lot less, and ultimately be able to serve your customers in a more effective fashion. I think that's through different marketing tools, different generative tools, navigating zoning codes and whatnot, all those different things that can be accelerated using generative, I think is going to have a tremendous impact on the end consumer, which we're all here to serve.
Yes. Also, one thing is actually worthwhile to point out is that the scary matrix AI is actually in the AI practitioner field is that it's considered strong AI. And even though how remarkable the ChatGPT looks like today, it's actually still a weak AI. So there's actually a key distinction between strong AI versus weak. Weak AI is typically understood as it solves a specific type of function and job. It do one thing really well. And the strong AI is actually a one model that are able to do many different things. So definitely ChatGPT was OpenAI's effort towards the strong AI. But the weak AI is actually, on the other hand, while it sounds scary, it's actually around us for a long time. If you think about your Uber optimizing the route for you so that the taxi driver come to you right away, predicting when would it come here, or your airline, actually even Amazon trying to make a prediction about who's going to need what. That's how they do the next day delivery. This is actually all powered by very specific weak AI. So even though no matter how remarkable ChatGPT looks like, it's still considered weak AI at this point, a large language model trying to produce and predict text that will fit your anticipation. So it's very exciting. It's scary about how the speed is evolving, but actually on the other hand, still not nowhere near to what we see in the Matrix. And also one thing I want to point out is, as Bassam pointed out, is actually the first impact to it is actually to developers. But what we see and what's happening in the software developer community is that it's actually not developers' job being replaced. It's actually, yes, average developer no longer be as significant, but the good ones, you actually can see the code and even the content generated for Maket, I'm sure it's the same case. It gives you new inspiration. But ultimately, it's human being that actually think, how can I take up that new insight and write my own new creative information, right? So that's something I would like to point out.
I completely agree with that. I think Patrick kind of touched on it, and you did too, Will. I get asked all the time, well, aren't you worried that it's going to replace you and what your team does? And what I think ChatGPT is really doing for marketers, and I know we've got a lot of marketers on this call, but technology in general has allowed us to do more and more and more and more and more and more each day, to the point you don't really often have time to sit back and think and strategize and be creative. And to me, if ChatGPT saves me 20 minutes that I can then use to make that piece better for the client or better for my business or more creative or take that time to do strategy, that it is a huge game changer for all of us. Because I've been using chat since the Builder Show, and I have the paid version so I can use Chat GPT 4, which I think is way better than the free version, by the way. And it'll render something that's a nice start, a nice first draft, a nice outline, but it in no way, shape, form, or fashion replaces the creativity that we as humans have, or the strategy that we have.
Or the understanding.
And Carol, to your point, like putting it practically, we launched advertising campaigns yesterday towards architects, real estate agents, interior designers, and we're going to do builders. We had to build 4 different landing pages with 4 different messagings for our product. All the ad campaigns associated to that. In the past, it would have taken a week, 2 weeks even. Yeah. And we were able to do it within, it takes time, it still took a day to do, right? But then you can A/B test things quicker. And then you can also say, okay, here's all of the copy that you've given me for my landing page, but I want to swap out this structure. I want to have 10 different ideas for this tagline. This doesn't sound human. Like all these different things allows you to have a creative assistant and of a voice to go back and forth with when, sometimes you're alone as a marketer within your company and you don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of, which is a tremendous use of it.
I love it.
I've been using it to brainstorm, and brainstorming to me, because I am by myself, so to me, to have that opportunity to brainstorm and just, and wordsmith and which I understand now is called prompt engineering, but how do I get better results out of it, which makes me think a little differently and communicate a little differently to the AI. And in turn, makes me, be more creative myself. So I know it has replaced some of the things that I would typically have sent out to my assistant that she hates doing. She absolutely hates doing it and complains so I have to listen to complaints for 2 weeks to get back what I asked for, where I can get it in 5 minutes and then just tweak it myself. So in 15 minutes tops, I'm done. With something that was taking me 2 weeks to turn back around, because it's not a task that she particularly enjoys doing. So,
but actually, there's one thing if you pay attention, is actually interesting. Don't you notice that every time you prompt first, it's no matter who use ChatGPT, you prompt first.
You prompt
that's that's the creativity part. There's one thing interesting if you think about AI without diving into technical detail, is that it read all these, basically read the internet and then try to basically create all these texts. But if you think about human, right, look at just children's. How many data children have received in their brain because they have even prior to those experience that they have in their life. But they're so creative. They have so many inspirations to keep coming up. I think there's an inherent capability that true intelligence has. And that's what a language model using massive computation power would not be able to actually initiate those ideas. And that, if you think about, I personally think sales and marketing is one of the most creative jobs, to understand the need of human being, to actually really find creative solution to actually address their need. That part, I wouldn't expect there's any way that until we really get the matrix built, we'll not be able to get close to that.
Well, Kimberly, you made an important point about how ChatGPT is really helping you in your sales function job and providing you assistance. Yesterday, I was at a real estate conference with over 400 realtors there, and the most popular session, and they actually had to make 2 of them, was about AI. And one of the things that I think is going to be a ramification of ChatGPT is it's going to compress the sales and marketing sales funnel, because what's happening now, the realtors are all excited because now they can actually start creating marketing content and be able to interact with their leads much earlier in the sales process, basically meet them online. But on the consumer side as well, they may not have to go shop website by website by website and try to learn everything. The AI has already read through all those websites, pulled out the few pieces of nuggets that is meaningful to the particular questions and needs and desires and constraints that they may have. If you think about it from a technology standpoint, I'm trying to break it down to a more simple analogy. Google search is like the librarian. In the old days, they'll say, hey, okay, I'm interested in preparing a a full course meal for somebody that has peanut allergy, somebody that's gluten-free, and somebody that doesn't eat pork. And they'll say, oh, go to this section over there, and here's all these cookbooks. And maybe Google's even better. It drops all these cookbooks in front of you and recipes and everything. And then you also say, actually, I need to also have the ingredients for those recipes. And I have a 4-hour time window to make it done, make it all done. And then also order all the ingredients. To go through and read through all those pages of all those websites that Google has recommended to you, you may, by the time you finish, you never actually got to achieve the goal. The beautiful thing about ChatGPT, it's more like a tutor. It's already read all that content, and it's going to bring just those elements to make your needs come true. And then when it's connected to, say, Instacart, it will make those orders. So it'll have all your ingredients delivered to you so you can make that 4-hour window.
Living example of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Kimberly's already doing that.
Listen, man, we're eating meals that we would never, it's like going to a restaurant at my house every night, because I asked Beth Lemon from Smart Dwellings posted this on Facebook, and I went, that is genius. Why didn't I think of that? So I have it creating my meals with the parameters that I want health-wise, the ingredients that we like, and then creating a shopping list, which I just plug right into my online shopping list, and then it's delivered to my house. And then I'm having fun making the meals, using my fresh herbs, and watch my daughter explore new foods that she otherwise would not have tried. Because
imagine that applied to the new home shopping experience. All that complexity, all those constraints. If AI can be your virtual assistant, both for the buyer and also for the seller, it can make the whole experience fun, enjoyable, and practical.
Right. And then I benefit because she shares the good recipes with me so that I can have them too. I don't have to
I send them to Carol. But Sam, there's a question in the chat that I thought was particular for you as the father of chatbots in our industry here. So AI is already impacting virtual workers. So how will that affect OSCs and our online concierge? To me, I think it makes it easier for them, particularly the volume that they're dealing with. But you speak to that. Where are those limits, and where's that cutoff?
It's a great question. Thank you. I think first, let me acknowledge that I'm confident that if anything, online sales, online workers are becoming more and more relevant. That is, online purchases, digital transactions, I think that's the whole theme here, are becoming increasingly more relevant over time, not less relevant. So the function becomes more relevant, more expectations on it, more sophistication is expected of that salesperson, who now I would describe as a salesperson. With all due respect, I think the role may have had its roots as sort of an assistant to the field sales or community salesperson. I think more and more an online salesperson is legitimately impacting the home buyer journey. So it becomes a really critical role, which means it's now a role that has aspects that the human doesn't want to do or can't do. That doesn't want to do is nobody wants to talk to people who just have a few really top of the funnel questions. They're not yet serious. They're just qualifying, right? Yes, we could do it, but is that the best use of time when we can dedicate that time to people further up the funnel? An example of something a human can't do is be up 24/7. Why even try to hire people who are going to work night shifts? And I'll tell you, 2/3 of conversations that happen on our platform in home building and outside of home building are happening after hours. So could we make our human teams do that overnight? Sure. But is it really worth it? Absolutely not. So the idea becomes, can we delegate some of these tasks and now free up time for the best and only the best online sales people to then take the journey forward with actually candidly additional assistance? And I saw Erin's question there followed up basically saying, and how does it happen after the fact? Well, we talk about follow-up being a really tough problem. Follow-up is something salespeople don't want to do. They don't like to do it. What if you had a digital assistant that could do the follow-up for you and can engage and thank the person for coming and get some feedback and engage them, not just in some survey-like thing, but actually engage them and nurture the relationship and then bring back the human once the follow-up has been sort of initiated. So again, I think if we are the best at what we do, we will leverage AI as a tool to get really efficient, really effective. And I think the role is very safe. I think it's a very valuable role supported by AI.
And I see it as having, just being more prepared when you're meeting your prospect, right? You can have an example of all the chat transcripts that they will have had, all of the questions about their lifestyle, about their budget, about even interactions with online tools. If they generated some images, if they've done some interior designs on a platform that uses generative AI, all those different things, you can say this prospect is highly engaged at this moment. It's time for me to act. And to your point, the follow-up I think is going to become more and more personalized, because that content will be able to learn on the interaction that the person has had with an autonomous agent, ChatGPT agent, and then be able to propose really personalized content to them and keep them engaged within the process. So I really see it as bringing them really far down the funnel and not having to necessarily have to interact with them before you're ready. Similar to when you're meeting your doctor, right? When you're meeting your doctor, I had to do it this morning. I went into the clinic and there was a triage, and the triage asked me what symptoms were, all these different things and whatnot. And then I was able to meet the doctor, but they had that information, right? So I see it as the same way, but in a virtual environment. So yeah.
Well, absolutely. Actually, another thing, actually, I'm 100% agree with what you both say is the consumer actually want a very personalized experience, and they want to have the sense of like finding my own unique need. But then actually sometimes a lot of time is salespeople need to spend a lot of time to understand where do they coming from. By the time they realize, oh, this is not necessarily a qualified customer or whatnot. But imagine the AI is able to really analyze from the beginning of even the first click of ads or keyword search through the journey of website, the chat engagement in a simple early question, all the way to by the time 100% in front of you, talking to the salesperson. If you can understand where that buyer coming from, not just what they're looking for, you deeply understand their motivation, then that would allow the sales professional really just focus on the fun part. What can we do to actually create a solution for the future living condition that really is actually not a job of, I think home building is not a job of building a home, it's actually moving people's lives, right? So how can we actually focus on human element? I do think one thing that the industry actually like causing a lot of concern that people say, well, why we all worry about AI? The key thing is actually, because do we really have a sense of control to the AI? I think that's absolutely important. So, but I see that particular sales and marketing professional, like having AI human in the loop, in the center, to actually take control of the AI to really focus on the delivery of experience that is actually human to human. I think that will make a big difference for home building industry. And sales.
And when it is the AI, if like with Bassam's chatbot, this is something he and I have discussed before, but one of the things that he shared with me previously was that people are more honest. They know it's a chatbot, so they're more likely, or they know that they're talking to a computer, so they're more likely to be honest and not feel like they're negotiating or posturing or hurting somebody's feelings if they really bonded with the salesperson. So I know that you've had cases where the salesperson thought it was a really great moment that they had with the person, and then the AI follows up to only find out they hated it, but they really liked the salesperson. Right?
Well, we've had a lot of questions in the chat about credibility. When you ask it to write something, sometimes it cites sources that aren't really factual, or it will cite something that when you go to it, it's a 404 page. And then there seem to be lots of privacy concerns and concerns about, proprietary information. And even Elon Musk has said we should pause on this. So what's everybody's take on all of that? And should we pause? And does it know more than it ought to know?
All right, well, I'll lead off.
Someone's
irony is Elon Musk was a original investor in OpenAI, and then he got pushed out by the CEO Sam Altman. So, and ironically now, he owns Twitter, which is a big communication medium, and he's trying to create a new AI called Truth GPT. So I guess he will be the source of truth. So I think that's going to be an issue about the truth and knowledge and really the education of your Chat GPT. The irony is, I think of Chat GPT as almost like a newborn child. I mean, at the beginning is a lot of babbling. You don't know what they're talking about. And then they're starting to communicate, kind of like on Sesame Street with the Cookie Monster is like, me want cookies. And you kind of understand it and everything, which is ironic now because I think the whole Google cookie list thing, which I thought was going to be the downfall of search engines, is actually not going to be cookies. It's actually going to be AI. But that's a little ironic. But then what happens is as the AI gets smarter because it has more access to more large language models, LLMs, and then what they're trying to do is also connect to other specialty bots, whether it's a professional bot that's like specializes in taxes or in real estate or law or something. But there also will be a creation of specialty bots for your industry. And this is where we can control our own domain, not just our website domain, but our industry domain of, validated terms and use cases. And I actually think, just like what Patrick was using his analogy about a doctor this morning, I actually think all of us long-term will have our own virtual assistant. It's like our own general physician. It knows our profiles, it knows our needs, our wants, our limitations, our preferences. But it's not going to be an expert in everything. And then what happens is when you need to see a specialist because you came down with I can't share your personal things here, Patrick.
I came down with adult chicken pox.
Pox. Okay, you expressed it.
An AI bot would have not been able to tell me that.
Right, but what would happen is it would maybe send you to a specialist if it was something very severe. So what would happen is if you need a specialist in buying new homes, it will take you there. The advantage of having a generalist and a specialist is also a decentralization of power. And this is where a lot of people are getting to in terms of privacy, in terms of the bots ruling the world. Just like in the real world, you don't want power to be centralized, be autocratic. I feel like I'm talking like a political person here, but ChatGPT, the way you separate it from the nuclear button in a sense is to have digital keys that get you in and out of these specialty bots or industry domains. And those keys are the only thing that you can do transactions with. It's just like your credit card. You can shop anywhere, but only the credit card will allow you to do the transaction. And that separates the knowledge and the advisory role from the powerful role of the actual initiation of actions.
I think that, John, you bring the point as well of, not to get too technical, but really open source models and closed source models.
Exactly.
So closed source is right now to a good extent is OpenAI. You can access it through an API. It's their rules. They're not publishing a lot of their research. And then you have somebody like Stability AI, who's behind Stable Diffusion, the image generator, and they actually just came out with a rival large language model that's open source this morning. So more and more people are going to be building open source based on that. So that's another nuance to understand. Now, everything that's all open source obviously requires a lot of data infrastructure, data scientists, training your models and whatnot. So probably closed source is a little bit easier, but I think that more and more we're going to see open source models make their way to the market a lot better.
Yes, even Amazon, everybody's all worried about Amazon taking over the world. So ironically here, they're not actually creating their own Amazon AI bot. They have created a platform called Bedrock, which allows you to create your bots to utilize maybe Amazon's information, but also develop it around your particular needs. So in a sense, they've already decentralized that. And other companies like Quora, they have a POE app that allows people to go and create specialty apps around certain styles or genres or personalities. And then people that also want to buy those pre-designed specialty bots can now buy that for their own style of shopping and interaction.
Well, actually,
so this is. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So the thing is actually, if you think about the letter, actually, which in the end, I think is a good thing because it's called the attention. So what's actually lacking in the AI industry is actually not enough advancement in AI safety development. So now what that letter pause of 6 months is actually now pushing a lot of motivation to actually really move forward as an AI industry to really focus on safety. And on the other hand, the thing is actually what I don't think any stop would actually happen because the train has already left the station.
It left the station.
Exactly. So I think what is concerning, causing a lot of controversy about OpenAI is actually they started an open source model, exactly what John and Patrick talk about. But then starting from GPT-4 particularly, like the completely closed source and no one understand what they're doing. I think that's the big controversy that actually happened. But in a way, I think it's good at the big picture. Not good to what happened on OpenAI, but good in the industry because now you have stability AI and all those other protections to say, no, let's actually keep pushing an open ecosystem that we can collaborate so that it's not one dominant player is actually going to dominate the AI world. I think that as a whole for the industry is a good thing. I don't think there's any way to stop it already.
And Will, what's really interesting as well is that in these models, like a little bit less large language models, but especially image generation models, a lot of even the people who are programming them, so PhDs and artificial intelligence research that we work with at the Mila Institute, they don't even know necessarily what's going on. They have an input and then they get an output, but what happens in between, they don't have a good knowledge of what happens in that process. So that's why there is a lot of danger because it sometimes does things that are unexpected and can be very concerning if it's in the wrong hands.
You know, I actually put a lot of responsibility on the people. I mean, the ChatGPT is actually a reflection of society. The AI is learning from the behaviors, the conversations, the dialogues, you know, like it has a predictive capability. So if you say peanut butter and it has a 95% expectation that it's going to be jelly. So it's learning from society. And the irony also is Microsoft owns OpenAI. They also own LinkedIn. So if you get terminated by AI, you can actually find a job on LinkedIn. Microsoft can help you out. But Microsoft actually started an AI company back in 2016. It's called Tay.ai, Tay.ai. It only lasted for a couple of days because what happened was in the first day, they had 50,000 followers and 100,000 tweets. But it learned, and it was targeting demographics of 18 and 24-year-olds. So it learned the languages of 18 and 24-year-olds. Can you imagine that having your teenagers be the example for society? So it was actually having a lot of racist comments, misogynist comments, Jewish hatred comments. And so they had to turn it off. And so what's happened now, 7 years later, is that they have learned now with OpenAI that they need to put some parenting skills on there. It actually has to be, it goes through a select group of people that are kind of reforming it. I almost call it like a ChatGPT prep school. So they are pre-trained in the data, but they're also being potty trained on not what to say, on what not to say. And I think those checks and balances with society and conversations like this will help improve things. And also there's also the business reasons. If people are not going to buy from you because your ChatGPT talks trash, well, if it doesn't talk cash, it's not going to get anywhere.
That makes sense. The question that I have, I mean, this is, I think we are in agreement. This is happening. The pause is probably, that would almost be impossible now. But we all have websites, and our websites are designed for, hopefully, for search engine optimization. So we're trying to, when somebody's running, type in our key word search. We're wanting our website to be on the first page, ideally at the top of the first page. This is going to be a game changer for that, because no longer will we be going to Google search, or we're actually going to just type in and ask for these recommendations. So how do we make sure that people see our websites? Because unless you ask ChatGPT for a citation, it doesn't even give you a citation. So I have to ask it specifically for that. And to somebody's point in the chat, then I have to verify that that actually is the right citation, because it may or may not be. So how do we keep all the work we've done so far from getting lost?
I think it's going to be about a multi-channel approach. So you're not going to have to do a Google search and then go through 3 different pages. You're going to start having a conversation with a generative agent understanding sort of your desires and whatnot, they'll be able probably to steer you towards the right builder. But then after that, the consumer will take the opportunity to look at the Instagram feed, Facebook, Twitter, the website, all these different things that can be enhanced using generative agents. So whether that be text or image. So I think that building a community and having access to your customers or potential customers through all those different channels is going to become very, very, very important. And even it's outside the box, but even building something like a Slack community or a Discord community where you're having information that's being sent to them and where they can really engage. I think that community management and community engagement is going to be super important in this new era.
I echo what you're saying, Patrick. I mean, this may not sound great for the marketers out there, especially been doing a website channel, and that's been pretty much your only channel. ChatGPT and other AI is very pervasive. It's omnipresent everywhere. It's in your Microsoft Office thing. It's in Slack, which is owned by Salesforce, is also using ChatGPT there. They're also using, Salesforce also owns you.com, which is all about you and your search. It's also there. Bing is also using, so all these different channels. So your content needs to be everywhere because it's going to be cited when it is excited. ChatGPT, you're actually, instead of speaking to your customers, you need to speak to ChatGPT, because ChatGPT, instead of like that example of the librarian with Google, instead of having you go and look through every website and trying to find the meaningful pieces specifically to you across all the static content, it's going to go based on its knowledge of where people are going and find useful, valuable information. So your credibility, the granularity of your information, the currency of it, the meaningfulness, it's going to mean a lot more than beautiful websites. Because let's use another doctor's thing. If you see the commercial, Shingles doesn't care. So you can have the most beautiful website. AI doesn't care. It only cares if it has information and value to its master, which is the user, the prompter. Because each prompter is going to have different desires, different problems, different constraints. And one of those biggest constraints is time. So the beautiful thing about AI is there is no more manually searching every day in and out and trying to figure out every different website configuration and where was it yesterday and all this kind of stuff, and something new popped up. It's going to just pull it to you and then maybe even notify you. The actual virtual assistant, you actually would just say, hey, just tell me over the next 2 weeks, every new home that pops up that meets these criteria. So you're going to have to really change the way I call it cloud seeding the cloud with the right data so that ChatGPT will be able to find it and be able to refine it and then transform it. That's why it's called generative pre-trained transformer. It's going to be able to generate that content on the fly. It's going to transform it in a way that's meaningful to you, and it's multimodal. I'm trying to avoid all the jargon, but it could speak to you in whatever language you need to speak to you in. It could be visual. It could be textual, it could be verbal, and it could be even musical. I mean, it creates videos, music, whatever you want. Mm-hmm. It could create poems if you want your new homes to be told to you in a poetic way.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh? It's going to take
so how creativity. Will we, given all that though, how do we even figure out how to seed our clouds, to use your analogy? Like, because it really is so user defined for each individual user. How do you know if you're putting the right stuff on there to make sure that it sees you when somebody asks a question? Well,
the other concern that for marketers is primarily, like I said, they've been focusing on their website channel, which is presented in a certain way. Instagram is going to be a different way because it's going to be a lot more visual and stuff. But I think what's going to happen, ChatGPT is going to go to large sources, large language models, which right now it may go like Wikipedia or Reddit or something where there's a lot of conversations, and those conversations is not just about you, it's about other people that have talked about you. So you're going to have to put yourself in those places, and those places, I bet you in our industry will probably end up being like Zillow, which is using AI. Realtor.com is starting to use AI. I think those places where you have a lot of buyers and sellers and conversations and products is probably where ChatGPT is going to go first, and then it will probably go down the line. But what's going to end up happening probably is websites are going to have APIs that connect into those large industry domain experts, which will have their own bots. Because I don't think any small builder website has the means, the power, the resources to get in front of ChatGPT's eyes.
Right.
I personally don't fully agree that this will make a big change to SEO and website. The reason is actually simple. If you think about the fundamental principle of SEO, the concept is actually let the bot crawl so that Google can analyze it. So one thing is still very early to actually say is ChatGPT going to really outcompete Google? The reason why this will be a challenge is because the GPT model has this very notorious hallucination problem. So like you guys said, like there's no citation, no accurate information versus Google. It points you to the link, you search that, it gives you proper references and whatnot. So the accuracy of the information is so much more reliable on Google versus Chat. So is it Chat going to say, Chat maybe use it to say, oh, I'm thinking about buying a new home. Where should I start? Okay, it'll give you some high level content. But once you're really getting into a serious consideration to now think about visiting an actual model home, go talk to a home builder, you now require accuracy of information. So when you think about all the work that marketer put in is really deeply understanding their own buyer in their own market and providing accurate representation of what they're able to do, and then make the crawl about whatever that is to easier to extract those information. That's basically what SEO work is about. And I don't think, regardless at ChatGPT or Google search engine or Bing search, it's still the same concept. I don't think there's a major change for what marketer and salespeople can offer. The way that I see is actually just yet another interface that actually providing more channel for consumer to reach them. But ultimately, when they start to engage with the brand, it's the same work that the marketer got to put in.
That's the key point I was going to say, Will. I think the way you attract an audience and get in front of the audience may change, but I think when they actually start to engage, and especially using your technology with the Openhouse AI to the predictive models about how they would go through that customer journey and how to best service them and how to, I think that would be a very critical piece that ChatGPT cannot handle.
And Will, to your point as well, this is all happening in real time. I mean, it's really happening day by day, almost hour by hour here in terms of development. Even Google was saying that they're rethinking their entire search and how they're going to be doing that through a project called Magi. So that they're working on it might completely change how search happens. So what was real a week ago, 2 weeks ago, even a month ago is completely different. And you can see that in the generative space. But I'm going to respond to one thing that I saw in the chat of, how can we be proactive about using AI? I think it's just being engaged in the conversation, learning about it. My favorite newsletter is called Ben's Bites. Ben's Bites, he has about 60,000 followers on Twitter, 60,000 subscribers. And every day he comes up with, the technology that's being used, the research that's being used. Even though there's technical jargon in there, it really gives you an idea of some of the advancements that are happening and saying, oh, how can maybe I can apply that to my marketing, to my sales, to my operations. And it's not about necessarily rushing into things while this is happening in real time. Like that's a thing that we needed to stress.
Well, yeah, if in any way to look at it, actually, I think it's more opportunity for marketer than in the past. I struggle. I have these products which fit young family, also say an empty nester, I'm making it up. But which copy do I pick up? But now I actually can write two different relevant content because there's two components. One is the consumer going to actually come in and read it, but also now my SEO content and the search engine will be pick them up and serve the right relevant copy of it. I think it's actually more. It's more opportunity than.
I agree with you, Will. I don't want anybody to come out here and say, "Oh, we're going to destroy websites. It's not going to be relevant." I actually think websites are going to have to follow suit with more dynamic, personalized content instead of like this one house is available to both retirees and a newlywed couple with a baby. Based on where the ChatGPT's virtual assistant says, "Hey, I just had a child and I'm moving to Florida here. How can I get started on that?" The website content that it goes to, the pages that it goes to, will have to have something that's meaningful to them. So they're not going back to general world. They're going right to the next step in that process. And that predictive capability combined with dynamic content on the next wave of websites, the next version of websites, which I won't even go to Web3, but that's a whole nother conversation. But Web3 and all that kind of stuff would help facilitate some of that.
But if you think about it, what's very, very exciting is that I just wrap this last point. Like traditionally, all these ads, your website, Google Analytics, now your CRM to your sales, all this data all scattered, all in different kind of places. They're unstructured to make it marketing and salespeople are very difficult to analyze them. Now with ChatGPT type of capability, you can just feed them and then it actually aggregate and tell you what are the buying motivation of your customer? What kind of product did they actually bought? But how did they get here? And having a much deeper understanding in a large scale, analyzing through tens of thousands of traffic in real time. Imagine you have that information presented instantly to your actual salespeople in the field. They have access to it at the fingertip. How much more effective they are able to speak to those clients and increase the conversion just because of having that knowledge and intimacy to help the client. And I think customer will be much more happier too.
Data is the gold. AI cannot do anything without data, and we can't service the customer well without data or run a business.
Which many of our builders, I know some of the times when I come in, one of the first things we do is who is your customer? Just trying to define that from the data that we have. So I think one of the most proactive steps that a small builder can take, our bigger builders probably do a little better job of this and have more people analyzing that data, although I don't know that anybody's truly doing it well in our industry, is who is your customer? Where are they coming from? When are they coming? You know, these are things that we have to know. And if we're not capturing this data right now with a good CRM and really well-trained online salespeople to feed that information back in, and this falls on our sales management to really analyze this and put it back out so that we are training our salespeople, so we are using it and we can connect those dots and know, okay, we see that the traffic peaked here, you know, from our website analytics, we're getting this traffic here, but then what's happening to it? When does that impact us in the field? And then how does that create actual sales conversions, not just a web conversion? You know, these are questions that you start talking this kind of language out in the field where I am, and people just look at me like I've grown 3 heads. They're like, I don't understand what? Or they'll pull up, 15 different sources. They're like, well, we keep this over here in this system, and we keep this over there. If our systems aren't talking to each other, like we're not going to be ready.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I think that's got to be maybe job one for us is we have to start understanding our own business and building our data. Am I wrong?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm sure Kimberly you're expert in this already. Like there's actually already tons of tools allow us to connect all this data. And then if it's anything, ChatGPT make it even more accessible, technology much more accessible for builder. Now, even a small or regional builder is all of a sudden actually have same or even better analytic capability than a large national builder. I think that's where I'm in agreement with John, like the distributed intelligence model that making on-demand intelligence available for every builder, regardless of size. That's where it's exciting part of it. Traditional technology is only large builder can have it, but now actually all kind of builder can have it.
Right. But they have to understand that there's a need for it, and then what they need to do to prepare. Right. I get builders who get excited. They go to the builder show and they buy technology, but then they bring it back and they're like, now what? Like, how do I use it? So
exactly,
and they have to understand it's an ongoing process. Like you don't just plug it in and it does everything. Like it'll be great when we get to that point, but we're not there yet.
I really think that's the
need a magic wand.
I really think that's the important takeaway. You know, I one thing I've learned now that I'm the age I'm at is that it's really easy to be wrong, and I've been wrong for so long because despite studying computer science in the 80s and 90s, I had no idea the impact that the internet and the web would bring in the 90s. Social media, you sort of have a feeling when it's just happening, but it's really hard to predict. No matter how much you study, it's really hard to predict with all of the multivariate impact of society, how things will behave. Mobile phones are the same. And I really think I appreciate the point someone made that we're just at the beginning of this. So this is not a time to freak out, disrupt a business that's working. That isn't the case. But I think what is important is that we listen, we learn, and we adapt over time. And if we can just adapt over time and keep up with the times. What's amazing to me is how traditional so many people are, who sort of wait until the world has passed. And then and only then do they have to then disrupt, because they haven't been adapting for 4, 5, 6 years. So the comforting news is nothing, you don't need to suddenly change your behavior overnight. But the bad news is you have to pull your head out of the sand and look around and adapt over the next decade, so you don't have to self-disrupt in 5 years.
There's a question in the chat about how easily accessible is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so I just want to say, you can just go right on to chat. You can Google ChatGPT and sign up for it, and it's free. So for those of you who haven't tried it out yet, I encourage you to do that. Do you have to go? I don't remember. Do you have to go to OpenAI first?
I think you do have to go to OpenAI first. Yeah.
Well, now it's integrated into Bing. So if for some of you who don't know what Bing is, it's the anti or the opposite of Google search. So it's the Microsoft search engine. But on Bing, there you can use Open ChatGPT, and they also have what they call Image Creator, which is DALL-E. DALL-E is an image generator. So you can just prompt it with whatever kind of creation you have in your mind visually, and it will generate that for you.
Just when you go straight to Bing? I didn't realize that, because I try to avoid Bing. So I guess I need to embrace Bing, don't I?
Well, people are starting to move toward Bing. I haven't been there since it started. So yeah, there's a big shift there, and there's a lot of money that's shifting that way as well. So
yeah, but Bassam clearly struck a chord with people. So the chat's
gone wild.
Yeah, the chat. But and Greg Bray says good job keeping us real. So yeah, but I always have a Zen moment when I talk to Bassam. It's just his tone of voice and his energy, and don't you all just feel like you're just like calmer now?
You're kind.
Yeah.
It's just old age.
It keeps the temperature
it's a balance
down
between passion and reality. I mean, I'm very passionate. I'm very futuristic. I kind of want to see. I'm trying to see where it's going, but then there is reality of the nuts and bolts, collecting the data, connecting it and then refining it and utilizing it. But the one scary part is that whatever the technology changes are, it's happening at a faster pace and overnight almost, that you can't sit out. You have to be participant in it. I mean, just even Google talked about their Project Magi. That just came out 2 days ago. And they're basically saying, scrap the old search engine thing. We're infusing, AI into it. So they're starting to change the game after 25 years.
I think you need to start somewhere. And I think starting somewhere is sometimes starting very small, where it be like ad copy or using ChatGPT or something like that, or even an image generator like Stable Diffusion. They have a really good new model that just came out that's plugged into our platform. But I think starting somewhere, and then also understanding the limitations of some of these AI models as well. Like we've been working on our plan generation module for a year and a half, training that data, refining it. Sometimes the outputs are not perfect, understanding that it won't be perfect, and being okay with that, and then focusing on high level tasks, where it's like, it's not necessarily the engineering, where it's more of being able to accelerate some things on the sales and marketing side. So starting somewhere is important, though.
Even for us, I mean, we've been utilizing AI for 4 or 5 years. I mean, nobody even realizes that, but our images, before they call it generative AI imaging, we've been using a cloud rendering engine to generate all these renderings in different colors by thousands of different people simultaneously. Because we couldn't rely on people to do that. And now that's become more popular. We've actually also had to train our AI to read all those floor plans. We're trying to find all the things that are frustration points for the buyers and even the sellers. The marketing people don't want to read all the floor plans and list all the options and all that. And we now have the bot read all that stuff. But it's taken a long time to get to that point. But when you get there, it is like utopia in a sense, because it's a big threshold barrier that we cross for consumers and the way you sell.
So
absolutely.
we are at the top of the this obviously we're on the cutting edge of this. This is conversation that we can probably pick up next month and the month after.
That's what I was thinking.
Every month is going to change, so you can keep this. This is a fresh content.
We'll just keep talking about
Good
this.
idea.
So
That's a good idea.
But let's do a quick round robin as we close out here. What is something fun that people should be doing with it so that they can become less afraid of it? And what do you see happening next? So Bassam, I'll start with you because you're in my top left corner here.
The tip I'll leave is I think it's generative AI is a wonderful way to summarize data. If you don't want to read an article, copy it and paste it and ask it to summarize it in 3 bullets. The takeaway I'll leave everyone with is I think what this is making us all realize is that even biologists don't understand how the brain works completely. So when computer scientists try to map the brain in a neural network, I don't think any of us believed it would work as well as it does today. It is working incredibly well, and the trajectory is amazing. So point number 3, maybe humans, maybe we aren't so special after all. And I'll leave you with that philosophical question. Maybe we are just a neural network of language, but we'll talk about that more another time. Thanks.
Wow. Okay. With that, Will.
Right. So I think what you can do is actually really first, for those who haven't tried it, give it a try. And when you actually get in, exactly me to produce some content as well. But then actually what is interesting is actually really it spark creativity for yourself. And that's actually where the human ingenuity come in. We use it in a lot of our machine learning data science model. But one thing actually I encourage you to try is actually see if you can apply in your business to generate some small win. Then it make it exciting for you. Like, for example, oh, this certain experiment I want to run is much more effective now or save my time. You have your own way of defining a small win. But the key thing is when you make mistake or when you have small win, you reflect on it, how you can actually incorporate technology and stay curious, right? So I think that's actually the important thing about being human. One philosophical point as well, from my personal view, I'm a mathematician as well. So I don't think the universe is computational if we look at quantum space and all those things. So there's something outside the computation that makes us human. And I think that's not AGI will take, well, I don't believe that. Hence, AGI will not take over the world from that reason.
Thank goodness. All right, John.
I have, so many different apps that I think you can try out, but instead of spending the next hour talking about them, if you go to futurepedia.io, they have an ongoing list of all the new AI tools right now. There's 1,909 AI tools across 54 categories. And when everybody starts to train their own dragon with their own bots, you're going to see that start to proliferate. And I just say, find something that you find interesting among some of those tools, try it out for your life or your livelihood.
Good. Yeah. And that's the key, right? To making it less scary. All right, Patrick, you're going to round out the list here.
Mine's a combination of everything. Will took the literal words out of my mouth of staying curious, but I think it's starting somewhere. Start small, stay curious, really immerse yourself within that world and information. The plug that I have is, once again, Ben's Bites, which is a great newsletter that you get every morning in your inbox so you can read quickly, and then use it within your business. Use it to try to generate images or modify those images, or quickly take something creative in your mind and actually producing it without having to spend the time that you would usually do it. So creativity is a big one for me.
Awesome. Carol, you want to finish us off here?
I'd say jump out there and start using it. Don't be scared of it. Think of it, especially if you're thinking of ChatGPT, think of it as an assistant or an intern at first, and realize whatever you give it is about what you're going to get back from it. So the more you can tell it that you need or want, and the more parameters you can give it, the better the content you're going to get back is.
Just think of this as learning like the first time you got on the internet, I mean, just explore, have fun. It's not going to bite you. You'll find that you may actually be able to harness the powers of it.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. I want to thank you guys. I really can't think of when we started talking about doing this topic, you were the 4 that came to mind first off. So thank you for what you're doing for our industry to keep us on the cutting edge. And thank you to so many people who attended today. We had a huge audience. Thank you all. I will send out the recording to you. Give me 24, 48 hours and we'll get it out. I'll get everybody's contact information in there. So if you have follow-up questions, because this chat has just gone nuts here. So if
need
anybody wants that
GPT to
too,
monitor the
I can
chat.
probably send that as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you, everybody.
everyone.
Have a
Thanks.
great
Bye,
day.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.